is on seasonal safety. It's amazing how quickly the seasons turn. Over the weekend, it was funny. My kids have jobs. They help some local farmers do some jobs, irrigating crops and that. And I've got twins who are 15 years old, and they've got their permits to drive now. Scares me to death, but they still can't drive alone. So I end up driving them. Well, actually, now they drive, and I ride along with a terrified look on my face, right out to where they're doing this work. Well, Saturday morning, we go out at 5 o'clock in the morning to the fields, and it was darn cold. We had the heater cranked up as high as it would go, and it was below freezing. And then later on in the day, we had the air conditioner cranked as high as it would go. There was a 50 degree temperature swing during that 24-hour period on Saturday, and pretty amazing how seasons change. With those changes come a lot of risks to us from a personal level and from an organizational level. The times are changing, and Brent's sitting in there grinning, thinking about that elk that's up in the mountains bugling right now, and the quaking aspens that are yellow, and fall is one of my favorite times of the year, but with it brings a lot of risk. We traditionally see a spike in incidents that happen, accidents and liability claims during those change in seasons. Why is that? I think a lot of it comes down to our preparation, our awareness of the hazards that are around. Sometimes it just sneaks up. It amazes me that we're already almost the middle of September, and it didn't seem like we quite had a summer, and we're already at this point. And so our goal today is to help us recognize some of those risks and consciously go out and prepare for what's coming. Because believe it or not, ready or not, winter is coming, and through these seasonal changes, we can put ourselves at risk if we're not really prepared and if we're not really actively involved in what we're doing. So our goal is really to figure out how to anticipate seasonal risks that are around us and prepare to avoid those accidents. Just a couple of observations that I made about seasonal changes. We have activity changes. We do things differently in one season versus another. Temperatures change, daylight changes. All of these things can affect our own personal safety. Let's just talk about activity for a minute. As summer comes to an end, our activities change. Children who have been out playing and having a good time during the summer are now back in school. They're now walking along our streets and crossing our roads. That places them at risk. They're not used to doing that, and we're not used to them being out there. So our awareness is essential. We need to put down that phone. We need to take those distractions out of our driving as we're moving around. And if we happen to have children, we need to sit down with them and have a serious talk about their safety as they're going back and forth to school from a number of things, whether it be stranger danger or dealing with vehicles. That's part of their safety, and we should start working with them at an early age to help them understand that. Our travel patterns differ. A few weeks ago, we didn't have school buses going around, and a lot of those people hauling kids around changes the way our travel patterns work. Our normal commute may be very different now, and so we need to be aware of those things. Even things such as animal migrations. Doug and Brent and myself put a lot of miles on our vehicles going out to visit you and do training and help you out where we can. And as we do so during these seasonal changes, we will find these animal migrations where deer will be crossing a road where we haven't seen them for the rest of the year, and it puts us at a risk. And you say, well, what about animals? There's a significant portion of the state, for many of you that are out there, where if you're involved in a traffic accident or in an auto accident, chances are better than 50-50 that it will involve an animal. whether it's a deer or a cow or a moose, you might be involved with an animal accident. How do we prepare for that? One, we've got to realize that it's a potential. It's not the normal, well, I've got to worry about that other guy out driving. I've got to worry about something on the side. We've got to look at our speeds and control how we handle that. But mostly be aware of the potential that's out there so we're prepared to take action. One of the other major changes that we see in seasonal safety is a change in day length. It seems like not that many weeks ago we had long days and plenty of daylight, and so most of our work and commute time was spent during daylight hours. Now when we have travel times during the dark, that changes our personal safety, changes how we need to go about working. I was coming back from Daggett County last week, and it was a long day. And as I was coming back, the sun was setting, and I was driving to the west, and that sun almost made it impossible to see anything. What do we do during that amount of time? You know, there's probably 15 or 20 minutes early morning and late evening when that sun is coming up or going down. If we happen to be traveling the wrong direction, that puts us at serious risk. If there's a pedestrian or a cyclist, we may not see them. So, preparation for that. Number one, we need to prepare our vehicle. Make sure we have good wipers, good wiper blades on the vehicle. Make sure we have adequate washer fluid. And every time we stop to get fuel, we should be doing a good job of cleaning not only our windshield, but our mirrors and all of the other windows, so we don't have anything impeding our ability to see. Because when that low-angle sun hits that windshield, it's going to be hard to see. And if there's dust or bugs on the window, that's going to make it even that much worse. So making a commitment. Every time I pull into that service station, I'm going to clean all of the windows. Personal safety. Have the equipment available that you need. Sunglasses, have those accessible so we're not distracted trying to find those. And maybe do what I did on my way back the other night. The sun was just at this terrible angle, and I didn't feel comfortable, didn't feel safe going on. I pulled off the side of the road and took a little break. It was a good time. I was taking a long trip. Gave me a chance to stretch my legs and take a short break. Allowed the sun to go down, and then I was able to travel more safely. Think about our risks as we go around. Night driving, bringing up, with seasonal changes, we end up driving more in the dark hours. So right now is a great time to do an inspection on our vehicle for a number of reasons. Do our headlights and all the rest of our lights work? Are they adequate for the task? Do they shine far enough? And from a personal standpoint, from a driver's standpoint, if you're driving at night, we need to drive slower than we do during the day. Our headlights do not illuminate enough to allow us to drive the same speeds that we do during the daytime. All right, I'm just checking out. Looks like Debbie has I was trying to see this question. Defensive driving, those behind us can't see us, so plan for extra stopping time to get behind drivers enough time to maybe see our brake lights, make sure the brake lights are working. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that input, Debbie. That's absolutely correct. Giving adequate spacing there, and once again, sometimes the best speed is 0. Get off the road and get out of the way when we have those really bad conditions. Same goes as we start into a season when we have a lot more storms. Be aware of that. That first rainstorm after a long period of dry time, those roads will be slicker than they are during a time when we've had a lot of rain. The oils on the road will come to the surface, and that first rainstorm, that first snowstorm, will probably be the most dangerous of the entire year regarding the total number of crashes. So temperature change. Like I said, we can have a 50 degree temperature change within a 24-hour period. that can cause us to maybe slip and fall on some ice in the morning, and maybe have a heat stress injury in the afternoon. So we need to be aware of this change. Plan for those slippery areas. Think about where those have happened in the past. Doug's going to talk about slip, trips, and falls prevention, but today we just want to talk about the basics of that. Being aware of where those slips are. Maybe being aware of where places where there might be some water drips coming off of the roofs and so forth. Driving can become much more hazardous during this time. So once again, be prepared and plan. And also think about frost damage. What can freeze in our facilities? And we'll dive into that in a minute. Actually, right now. So think about our facilities. Where is it going to be dangerous? Think back to last winter. Ooh, remember that spot out in the parking lot? Oh, remember we had problems with icicles coming off of the roof. Right now is a great time to address those issues before the first snow starts to fly, before things start to change. All right. My recommendation is that you take a walk, and this is from a personal standpoint as well as a work standpoint. Walk around your facilities. That might be your house, it might be your vehicle, it might be the shop that you work in. Let's walk around and take a look at our facilities. What could become a hazard? Right now, we're kind of in between seasons, and we may be putting equipment away. We may be getting equipment out for the next season. So let's have a plan on how we store that equipment. Can we clean it up and put it into a condition where we don't have equipment laying out across the floor that could be a trip hazard? Can we place it into a rack or palletize it, get it out of the way so it doesn't continue to be a problem throughout the year? At the same time as we're pulling out the equipment, snow blowers or other items that we might use for the upcoming fall and winter season, let's review that and make repairs that need to be done right now prior to that storm coming in. The broken snow blower or other items, now's the time to prepare. Another thing, as we're doing our walk around, it's great to identify things for emergency preparedness, things like where are utility shutoffs. The time to identify those utility shutoffs is a nice pleasant September day when we can walk around the facility, and not the day when we have 2 feet of snow and we've got a problem, an emergency, we need to access those utility shutoffs. So look at those, mark critical infrastructure so we can find that even after seasons have changed. And also look for those various challenges that we might have, problem areas during the winter time. Take stock. Simple example here are doorways. Do we have adequate ice melt and shovels and control measures to be able to handle slips and falls when those storms will inevitably come? Look at physical facilities like rugs and mats and things as people start to track in with wet feet, snowy feet. Are we going to have slips from those types of things? All right, and then look from a personal perspective. How do we get ourselves prepared for this change? Number one, I think it's definitely a mental preparation where we say, okay, things are changing now, and I'm going to be facing some of these challenges. Just with the example of the animal migrations, each year we talk about this as a group. Oh yeah, we're coming into that time, and if we're driving out to the basin, driving over Daniel Summit, we're probably going to have a herd of elk run across the road as we're going along there. Did you notice I said elk there, Brent? I could see that. I could see that his face kind of lit up just a little bit there. All right, training ourselves up for this. That's why we do our defensive driving course in November. Help us get prepared. I think defensive driving is Doug and Brent and I train this course all the time, and every time we teach it, we take something away from it that we can do better. So just because you've had the course before we definitely recommend that you take it again and come away with a different attitude. Prepare for what's coming. Do you have that? Or ice scraper and snow brush in your vehicle? Do you have your emergency kit available to prepare you for those things? Clothing, hydration, water, those type of things in our vehicles as well. And I'm not going to go into detail on this because Doug's going to talk about slips, trips, and falls. But now's the time to look at our footwear. And if you've got footwear that's not appropriate for slippery conditions, throw it in the closet right now, or throw it in the trash and get something that won't contribute to you slipping and falling. All right. Personal protective equipment. What are we going to need? So start thinking about gloves and warm weather gear for cold weather and the change in weather. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about, protecting your hearing. Right now is a time when there's a good portion of people that are interested in shooting and doing other loud recreational activities out there. Don't forget about those safety issues when you're off the job. Wear those earplugs even when you're not required to at work. Put those in, protect your hearing for the long run. And then we want to talk about preparation in our facilities, in our buildings. This time of year when we get those big temperature swings is the time when those portable heaters tend to come out. Because the HVAC system maybe hasn't switched over quite yet, and the buildings are cool, so people will have a tendency to drag in a heater to warm up their workspace. So as we do that, we need to inspect the heater that we've had from previous seasons and make sure it's in decent mechanical shape, that hasn't had any damage. Also inspect it, make sure it has the third prong on the plug, the grounding prong, to make sure it's adequately grounded. And also that it has an automatic tip-over protection. So if the heater tips over, it turns off automatically so it doesn't catch the carpet on fire. Also look at our storage around these heaters. Make sure we don't have paper or other combustibles around them. That's a really bad way, really dumb way to burn our building down, is with one of these heaters. Come up with a rule that requires people to manage these things. And if they leave their heater running and walk away from their desk, take the heater away. Let's be pretty firm about this, because a lot of times these are the causes of fires in our buildings. At the same time, electrical safety becomes important as we start moving into holiday seasons. We may have the desire to put out some decorations. And with that come cords and other electrical devices. Make sure we have adequate cords there. They're not frayed and in good shape, and don't overload those circuits. We can do some work right now to prepare those for anything that's upcoming. Great time for personal preparation. Look at our auto emergency kit, and also a kit in our workplace. Can we store some personal items that will help out in the event that we have a big storm and we end up having to getting stuck at work, or maybe for the folks that are responsible for clearing the snow or working through those storms to keep our streets open. If you have some personal items available at work that will help you through that challenging time or through an emergency. Winter operations. A nice September day is a great time to go and plan routes for clearing snow and identify hazards. Throughout the summer construction season, we may have installed additional infrastructure. There may be some high manholes or other things that are in the way that might be a problem as we're out clearing snow. So, and in particular, if we've got new drivers, walk them through their routes, identify problems. There may be a new mailbox that's too close to the road, that's a high-value mailbox. Let's identify those and see if we can work with the homeowner to prevent damage prior to us starting to push snow. Look at all of our facilities for freezing, and really, at the end of the day, our awareness is essential to to prevent some of the incidents that regularly happen during this seasonal time change. All right. I think that's everything I had prepared. Well, I actually had more, but I've gone too long. So I think I'm going to wrap it up at that. If you have any questions, type them into the chat box or the Q&A box. I'll throw it over to Doug and Brent and see if I missed anything there, anything they'd like to say.
Sounds good, Jason. I don't see any other questions. You did great.
Thank you. Doug, anything?
Good job, Jason. Just, you know, get out there early and take a look at things that we need to see now before the snow starts to fly. You know, especially, you know, with your snowplow routes, get your drivers out there to review their routes now, to be looking for problem areas, communicate with your residents, you know, in problem areas to see if you can get some cooperation from them, you know, and start planning for the season, you know, before it actually is upon us, and that way we can avoid hopefully some problems and get some cooperation from the public to help us out.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. I don't see any questions here, so I think we'll wrap it up. Everybody, go and enjoy this September day and take a walk and identify some issues, and let's take action now and have an enjoyable, safe day. Thanks.